Good evening, Kevin.
We
Bob.
are live. Yes. What's that?
I said good evening.
We're on. Good
Yeah.
evening. Welcome to the Kevin White Show. This is our veterans tribute, waiting for other guests to come on later. With me today, I don't know why the letters aren't showing up. At the top, well, in my view, is Mr. Bob Reinecker, retired Chief Master Sergeant, 180th Fighter Wing. And below is my friend Scott Corrigan, crew chief extraordinaire, hard worker. You guys work so hard. You guys are, I mean, I can't compare you guys to anybody, but and then take the blow. A7, both A7 mechanics. So I want to ask why you guys joined, and starting with Bob first.
Why I first went into service?
Yes, and
Is that
why?
what you, well, there was a couple of reasons, basically. I was going to school. I was going to Kent State when, 1 year after I got out of high school, and I joined Air Force ROTC. So I had a year ROTC under my belt, and when I knew I wasn't going to go back, I didn't have the money. I really wasn't ready for it. I wasn't sure what I really wanted. So during spring break, I went and took the ASVAB and did all that and signed up and joined the Air Force. And they delayed me till July when school was over. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
really?
pretty much it
Okay.
in a nutshell. Yeah.
So, Scott, can you tell us why you joined?
Well, I joined basically, initially for financial reasons. I needed extra money, and in the prospect of getting a monthly, drill pay was appealing to me and everything. My sister was in the unit, and I had a good friend who approached me about joining the unit, and we decided to go ahead and enlist and go to basic training and tech school together. And uh, that was my initial reason for joining. But as I say, it just became so much more than that.
Yes.
The camaraderie, the working on the jet airplanes, the travel, and just the military life in general. It was really, it was something that I had no way of knowing, how great it was going to be, what an effect it would have on me personally. All
Yeah,
positive.
yeah. It's once you get past through basic training, which is easy in the Air Force. It's kind of funny, I was in worse shape coming out than I was in before I got in. So,
Well, I actually was too.
huh? Oh,
I said I actually was too. I was weak as a kitten when I got out. I'd lost like 35 pounds, and but I could run a mile and a half.
right. So on the basic training. What year did you go to basic training, Bob?
66, July 25th, 1966.
So what was that like compared to what we're talking about right now?
From my understanding, it wasn't near as hard as everyone else, but they were a little rougher on you than it's come out. I remember they had a guy in the garbage can beating on the garbage can because he wouldn't listen, and they kept trying to break my wrist off because I wouldn't put my fingers on the seams, my knuckles on the seams when I was standing at attention. It'd come back and just wrench my arm back and say, I'm going to make that thing bend till you can't put it anywhere else but on the seam of your trousers. So maybe a little different.
Yeah. Going back to my father went to basic training, and they actually had fist fights between it's encouraged by the TIs to fight like that. So things have changed. That's good. But it's more like it's more academic. In case if you go today, I don't know what it's like today, but when I went, it was more academic. You watched a bunch of videos and did classes, and then you ate a lot of food, and you got fatter and fatter. So by the time the middle of it came when they had this little, I don't know, race or something, I could not run 1 mile. And I was running 6 miles a day before that. I could not run a mile. It was hurting. But it's not about that. They're picking up these kids that are, these smarter kids than the other branches. right? Putting them in to fix the basic thing is to fix aircraft. That's the basic Air Force thing, or whatever programs they have. Everything else is just on icing on top. But I appreciated that, but I thought that was hard until I got to tech school.
Yeah.
So my tech school was tough. So tell about yours, about what you did. Your schooling, I don't know if it was the same, and what your careers were. So Scott, you can go first.
Well, I knew, you know, from the get-go that I was going to be a crew chief on the A7.
Okay.
And we were actually scheduled to go to task-oriented training at England Air Force Base in Louisiana, but they ended that program, you know, while I was still in basic training. So we just went to Shepherd Air Force Base instead.
Okay.
For 2 phases of aircraft maintenance. You know, one was you know, righty tighty, lefty loosey, you know, basic things like that, and
Yes.
how to use a feeler gauge and all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then the second one, I was changing. We were actually doing some things on some aircraft they had in the hangar, and they had an A7 in the one hangar, and the instructor said, well, you know, since you're going to be working on these airplanes, you can get up there. And we put a stand up there and jacked it up and went up to the top of the tail and changed the light, you know, in the tail, the marker light. And there's 3 screws that hold the bezel in place for the light lens. And I took the top 2 out, and then I loosened the bottom one, and the thing rotated all the way up to the bottom, and the lens fell out of its position. And I looked over the edge of that rail and watched it fall all the way to the floor.
Oh.
And that was, you know, that got me a lot of attention.
Yeah, I bet it did.
And
Well,
I'm
at least it fell outside of the aircraft. So
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a good time as well. I mean, you know, I was very mechanically inclined and everything when I went, so there were a few things that I didn't know that we learned there, you know, having to do with equipment and servicing items and things like that. And one thing I learned is that I was really glad that I wasn't working on a F4. Very difficult aircraft to do a lot of maintenance on, you know, and that A7 had all the accumulator servicing ports in one place, you know, piece of cake. Yeah.
So the A7 was and I know both of you worked on it, was originally a Navy aircraft. And I think it was, if you look at the history of that aircraft, it was probably one of the most modern jets in Vietnam, because it had a HUD and all kinds of other targeting things. So yeah, it was a good jet. The YA7F, you know, wasn't going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I was on that program. Yeah.
So Bob, tell us about that and your tech school.
Oh, well, it started out, well, I was telling you, I went to Kent State for a year. I was in college, I was in education, and phys ed was my major or minor.
Wow.
So when the recruiter signed me up, he said, boy, we got a spot for you. We're going to put you in what is now called MWR. And I said, sweet. Right. Okay, that's fine. I didn't know what anything was. You know, well, they kept, for 4 weeks, they slid my enlistment date because people getting their draft notices. So I finally went in. What they didn't tell me was I lost my school date.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in basic training. This is, again, back in 1966. They marched us to this building, had a blackboard, a real blackboard, you know, not green or anything, just black.
Right.
And all this maintenance stuff on it. And I'm looking at it going, I'm not understanding. So like an idiot, I raised my hand and I said, Sergeant, I don't think I belong here. And he said, what's your name? I told him. He says, you're in this class. You said, you're in this room. Pick 3. I got my 4th choice. I got something that wasn't even on the board, which was aircraft hydraulics. So that's how I got started in maintenance, and it was the best thing they ever did to me.
Wow.
Because, like I say, I
That's
went to tech school then in Chanute
mhm.
for 4 months. I was on night shift. My school went from 7 at night to 1 in the morning.
Wow. T
Yeah,
shift
yeah.
or head shift, whatever it was. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
right from tech school, there were 5 of us that got sent over to Utapau as 3 levels. The first 5 3 levels in hydraulic shop there. We started on the 135 A models, and April 6th, the 67, I think was April 6th, we got our first B-52 in, and they had 10 hydraulic systems on it.
Wow. No way.
Yeah, 10 hydraulic systems. They were called hydraulic packs. They weighed about 70 pounds. They got
Wow.
bleed air off the engine, controlled with an electric actuator to open and close the throttle plate that allowed bleed air to come in, turn an impeller that was encased in 4 gallons of fluid, and send it out. What a
Wow.
mess that was. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was, I know.
So, yeah, on that beef. So, yeah, explain. Utapau is Vietnam, or is where is it?
Thailand.
The other country,
Mighty
Thailand.
Mouse,
Yeah.
Cambodia. Yeah.
So you're a Vietnam War veteran
Yes.
as well.
67 and 69.
Wow.
Yeah, that's incredible. My heroes. So my heroes, the people who went to Vietnam had the biggest racks when I got in. All these people, all the campaigns they did, and how young they were. They had young pilots too. I understand. I was watching a documentary on the B-52 crews. They were pretty well. They did what they had to do, and then you had attacks on the airfield and things like that.
Yeah,
Just
it was different. Now, we never got attacked while I was over there. The base got hit a couple times, but not while I was there. So that's one medal I didn't care to ever have, was a Purple Heart, so
right.
it's fine with
Right.
me.
Yeah,
but it was,
I can imagine. Well, go ahead.
I was saying, it was good duty. I mean, you grew up fast as a 19-year-old
I bet.
working on jets with 108 500-pound bombs on them. You grew up fast. We did things that were basically illegal, but it was up to the pilot. I went and had one launch, Red Ball, had 2 brakes leaking out of 8. And the
Wow.
pilot says, cap them off. And I said, but you're going to be short 2 brakes. And he said, I won't need that much when I get back. And I said, what happens if you abort? And he said, I'm not going to abort. And so he took it,
Wow.
but that's wartime conditions, you can't do that.
So I understand that you can. Oh, go ahead. Say something.
No,
I understand that things are suspended in wartime. That some things go out the window, like what do you call it? Instructions, step by step. If you have to take it, you take it. There's no measle. It's just whatever they can do to get the plane. And especially back then, I can imagine that.
it was the
Yeah.
pilot's. It was the pilot's decision. You gave him all the facts that you could give him, and then
Yeah.
at that point, it became the pilot's decision. So you did what you had to do to get the airplane in the air, but it was still his decision whether to take or not. And we had pilots that would abort for anything, and other pilots that would take it with many things wrong.
Yeah.
So.
So you both have 135 in common and the A7. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
What do you think of the 135, each of you? So one's an A model, one's an R model. So Scott's working on the R's. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. Based on what I've heard, everything I've heard about the new tanker, I just can't understand why they don't put 135s back into production. I mean, an updated version, of course.
Right.
It worked. It worked well. It's already been proven. I just don't understand it. That's an airplane that's like has very few equals in aviation. Like the B-52. That's another one.
Mhm.
They're proven. They do their job, and they've been doing that job for 50 plus years. And the 135, everybody had confidence in the 135, our model, and they put those CFM engines on there, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it really improved the performance to the point where they didn't have to really worry quite as much about things like dew point and things like that as far as engine performance goes for takeoff, like they did before.
Mhm.
But it's just an airplane that nobody ever worried about.
Yeah,
Okay.
very reliable. You know it's going to be there when you
Yeah.
need it. That's the
Yeah.
thing about it. And we can't
Yeah.
say that with the new tanker.
They had J57s with water injection when I was working on them.
Oh
Right.
boy.
The same engine, B-52, had J57s also.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a good engine
Wow.
for its time, but the water injection, people don't quite understand what water injection does, but it's,
Right.
but it's a
Could you
long
explain
time.
that to us? I don't really understand that.
Water injection basically cooled it down to give it more power, from my
Oh.
understanding. I wasn't an engine guy at the time, but
Yeah.
you sprayed water, the water went in it, and it cooled the engine down so it could get more thrust to get off.
Interesting. Hey, Randy Studer just stopped by, gave it a like. So Randy was up in Toledo. So let's talk about let's see here behind that. Let's talk about your what happened next. Out of the military, you got your A&P license. So, and I'm going to say this nice and carefully. The best A&Ps are the former military. It's just my opinion, and that's what I noticed. So when I worked at American, people writing all the what do you call it, instructions for the mechanics and troubleshooting for them were 90% ex-military. So
Yeah.
there are things you just know when you lived it, than people who went to school and don't know how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. So tell us about that. Was it easier for you, the knowledge of working on aircraft, or tell us what that was like?
For me, yeah. I went to Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics for 2 years, so I didn't just take the A&P license, or test, So I went to school for 2 years, got my 2-year degree in aviation technology, and then which authorized me to take the FAA exam, which I did, and got my A&P license. And I think where it helped me, when they were talking earlier, is I went and I was working civilian aviation in Akron, Ohio. We were making $3.25 an hour as an A&P mechanic.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. On
And,
aircraft.
Just your Cessnas, Beaches, that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
GA. Okay.
yeah, general aviation.
General aviation. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there was an Army unit there, and I joined to get weekend money. I needed more than $3.25 an hour to live. We wanted to start a family. And within 3 months, I was a technician. And I think my A&P is what helped me, because I never worked helicopters, where there were so many coming out of Vietnam era at that time. That this was 74. So, a lot of A&P, or a lot of Vietnam helicopter people, but I got hired. I think my A&P actually is what got me in.
Oh, good. That's excellent. Excellent. So it worked the other way around for you. And have you done any A&P work in the last, or since you got out? I guess you haven't. Okay.
With my back problems and stuff and health issues, I I gave it up.
I understand. I totally get it. Scott, how does that help you? How has your career helped you um, as an A7 mechanic? But I know you probably bet armchair quarterback anything that happens. You know what I'm saying? You hear about this and that happening, and it's kind of hard to get away from that. It's very hard.
Yeah, I try not to though, because I don't want to make a fool out of myself, show everybody how little I actually know when they might have the opposite opinion. I don't want to,
Yeah.
open my mouth and shove my foot into it. But yeah, it was, what it did for me is that I ended up as a technician, in the Guard full time, and that's as far as I really wanted to go after that. I contemplated an A&P and that sort of thing, but I thought, well, it just doesn't get much better than where I am right now.
Right.
Yes. I get to work in a great daily environment, and and I get to travel. I get to, it's the benefits are just unbelievable, and then and the retirement benefits are great. I've had a lot of health issues in the last year and a half or so that
Right.
have had me in the hospital and different things multiple times. And since I became eligible for my TRICARE, I haven't seen a hospital bill. I haven't seen a doctor bill at all for anything.
Excellent. Right.
So I think I made the right decision, and by the time when I was ready to retire and everything, I had to retire early, and a lot of people did go to work for the airlines and different things like that, and I just couldn't. I couldn't do that anymore. So.
Yep.
Right. Would you say, I mean, you're working with a lot of, crazy dangerous chemicals. When I first got in, you guys were already in the vat or whatever.
Yeah, we were.
MEK and all that. And hydrazine with the F-16. And I got hit by that twice.
Did you really?
Yeah. Went to the hospital. There's nothing they can do. They just take your blood and put it in the records.
Yep.
There's an unknown consequences with that stuff. By the way, what I'm trying to say is, does anything affect your health that you know of?
Yep.
Not directly. The only thing that health-wise that I might, there are unknown quantities, and yeah. I've had health problems that I don't know what the root cause might be of them. But the only thing that that I'm suffering with presently that's it's a daily and hourly problem is that my knee joints and everything are just shot.
Yeah.
And I've been told that pounding the concrete was probably one of the major contributors to wearing my joints out, but I don't know, other than that, I haven't had any organ problems or, I've had a couple of skin cancers, but that was my own fault for being out in the sun with, they used to let us run around out there on the flight line with no shirts on, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. You're out in the weather. That's the thing. You're out in the weather, and so when I retired, I worked at Enterprise. The only thing I could do physically because of my injuries and everything, my disability, but I was the guy who would when it turned winter, it didn't bother me at all, and everybody else was like, "It's really cold out." I said, "Just let's go, keep going," and I would I'd be on it. I'd be on that job, doing the best I could. And it helped my legs straighten out so I could walk normally again. So that was a big benefit. But people were like, "Oh, you ready to go back out? Yeah, let's go. Let's get it done." When you do have a job to do, you go do it. That's a different attitude than a lot of other people,
Yeah.
You get it done. When you get it done, you get it done. And you don't stop. You continuously, no matter how much pain you're in. How many times have you done that? You worked on the flight line and you've had issues or whatever, you're pulling this dash 86 and it's killing you. I think. Yeah, and you got running aircraft and all kinds of things, and you got planes taking off. In Toledo, the ramp is like right. The hangar doors open, and the ramp is right there. They're taking off, and it's so that's where I got my hearing reward.
What?
So I think my hearing. So
What?
That's hilarious. But yeah, and then I had to prove that. I had to write the VA 4 or 5 times to get it approved because I don't know. I could see the planes were not that far away, full afterburner taking off, and they wouldn't give it to me. I had to go over and over again, and I hear ringing all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys do too. You too.
Well, I just got hearing aids last Thursday from
Yeah.
the VA because of
Okay.
exposure. Yeah. I've had them now less than a week or just a week. Yeah.
Okay.
Getting used to them.
So
talking-
yeah, well,
Go ahead.
yeah. Oh no, go
I see.
ahead.
Talk about exposures and stuff,
Yeah.
Well, I was exposed to Agent Orange.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
I was my only real issue I have asthma real bad.
Okay.
And we're fighting. Well, we got under the PACT Act. Now I'm covered with that between that and going to Kuwait for the burn pits and the smoke
Burn
in the air.
pits.
You know,
Yes. Yes.
that they got my paperwork in for that. As a matter of fact, I just turned that in about a month ago. That it came up, they needed more information, and
Yeah.
I didn't have my orders. They said, Rick, I see you went to Kuwait. We have no orders. So I called Colonel Ortiz, and guess what? He had a copy of them. So I
Wow.
linked to the
Okay.
VA. Yeah. But
Yeah, I saw my orders online. Every place I went.
Oh, yeah,
it's
where
interesting. It was on that survey for burn pits.
oh, was
That
it?
actually showed. Yeah,
Oh,
they already
I
know. So
but talk about
yeah, my
MEK.
burn pit- Huh?
I said, talk about MEK. When I went
Yes.
over Utapau in 67, I was just a one striper. There were 2 of us. They decided to paint our floor in hydraulic shop, and it was too slippery. So me and another one striper,
Oh,
they had to strip the floor, the whole shop floor with MEK,
Nice. Oh my
No
God.
way.
the whole floor. They found us.
right.
They said they heard us giggling behind a degreaser. We were back there just higher than kites.
Yeah.
They took us outside,
Really?
and about an hour later, felt like someone hit me in the head with a board. I mean,
That's
it was the worst
insane.
headache I ever had.
But I used to use it too. I didn't know how dangerous it was at the time.
Right.
We didn't know.
No, we
So,
didn't know.
Yeah. We used to use it to wash the sealant off our
Yeah.
fingers and stuff, which
Exactly.
was also probably really toxic.
So the parts clean machine. So I think we use it in that too.
Yeah, PS661 is what they had when I was there.
Yeah. And then you guys, so this is about sacrifice. Thank you for your service and yada yada yada. So there's things that we had to do that the civilians didn't do, right? I mean, we had to pack up, go on these deployments, away from the family, and it's hard on the family. It's hard on
Mhm.
and some people have other jobs to do. In Toledo, we had people who worked for GM, things like that, and they were losing money on drill weekend.
Mhm.
So, and then you have to, you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know. It's like right now, I know they called New Jersey. I think there's 3 F-16 units over there now.
New
And
Jersey's one of them, yeah.
I don't think it's Toledo yet, but you never know who's going to get called up. But in harm's way, that's the whole thing. That you're in harm's way, and it gets real when you get deployed to. I don't know if you went to Iraq or not, but I guess those guys are being shelled, bombed, or mortars are going on the base.
Mhm.
And some places are just plain dangerous. It's like
Mhm.
just think Turkey, you go off base, people got stabbed. And they know who you are. Everybody's got the same haircut.
Mhm. And got money in their wallet. Yeah.
Yes. So luckily, I had 6 trips there. Nothing happened to me. I made it out okay, but there's some people who didn't. Just like Mexico, some people got rolled in Mexico. The Springfield guys were rolled, robbed, and everything. And I remember going with Liberace Malbon down there with Rickenbacker. So we're in this this bar kind of thing in Mexico. We went a little too far into the interior. So all of a sudden, this guy's like, "Drink, you guys want drinks?" So I get a soda, of course. So it's like, "Oh yeah, $10." Everybody else gets a beer. $10. We're not paying $10. You will pay $10. So we got threatened. Thought we're outnumbered. We walk out real slow, pay the $10. Then these different people are walking behind us, are following us. We cross the street, they cross the street, and they were like crazy looking. We start running. We get back to civilization. We get out. We escape. So you never know what you're up against, just like Panama and all those other places. You don't know what's behind the corner, who's after you. We had spies in Tent City in Turkey. We had Turkish spies that were trying to get information from us, that were living or working, posing as janitors and things like that. You just don't know. These are things you never see as a tourist, but you get to go all these countries on the way there to the bad country you're going to work in. So you see the world, and you see how other cultures operate, and you miss home. Home is the best place in the world when you're in basic training and when you're on deployment. So it's pretty awesome, and I'm proud to have served and to do my part. And each one of our parts are very critical. I mean, for the mission, we all work to get it done. It's cooperation. It's just amazing, the teamwork. And then when you go over to the theater, you see all these other countries that are there already. You see the Navy, you see the Army, Marines. Everybody's there. The Brits are always there. Every deployment I went on overseas was the Brits. So I think they're our closest ally. That's my opinion. People say Israel is, but I only saw them once. So I'm not saying it is. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're talking about going off base. People in the United States, unless they've been to places like that, don't realize how cheap life is to these people.
Yes.
You know, it really does. It is cheap. I'll give you 2 examples. One time we were going into town from our base at Utapao, and we were arguing about something a shop chief wanted us to do or whatever. Yeah. And the taxi driver turned around and says, "You want him killed? 2 cartons of cigarettes." Oh, that was it. 2 cartons of Salem cigarettes, because the king and queen smoked Salem cigarettes.
No way. Yeah. That's a crazy story.
No, we're mad at him. We don't want him killed, but again, that's how cheap it is. And then another time we're waiting to go home. This was in 70 after my second tour. We were at Bangkok International Airport and our plane got delayed. So we're sitting there and we're laying around, waiting for a plane, and a lot of people were sleeping. We saw this one local walk up and down. I looked at him, I said, "Looks like he's casing." So he grabbed a gym bag off of one guy. Everyone chased him into the bathroom. He had the bag. He dropped the bag. He kicked his way out and was running while they were dealing with him. I was running looking for the police, and I was yelling, "Thief" and Thai. Well, he broke out just as I met up with the police. They shot him, then turned to me and said, "What did he do?"
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, they shot him. I was yelling "Thief," so they shot him. He was running.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if he died or not. I didn't go look. I didn't ask. I just
none of your business, right?
Yeah, I said, I told him what happened the best I could, and my broken tie, and That was it. They just saw him running across the
You know,
park.
some people have no regard for life.
No.
So I remember I bought something. I was getting tailored out. Where was it? Over in Turkey. It was one of the shops there. So there was a guy who ran. He was the guy who ran all the shops, the mafia guy. He wasn't really mafia. He was a nice guy and all, but so I said, "Hey, so and so is taking a little bit longer." It's a female who was making something. It's just I don't have any complaints. It's just taking a little longer. Hopefully, I'll get it before I leave because I was leaving in like 2 days. So he says, "I go talk to her. I will beat her." I'm like, "What? No, I don't. It's not worth it. Just let it go, please." But that's how it's a whole nother world over there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like in Panama, you go to Panama, they say, so if you get a fish meal and it looks like something different, we agree with it. That's the base policy. I'm not going to tell you, we won't say anything what happened in Panama, at the dorms. We're not going to say anything about that. So,
That's good.
No habla. No habla. Yeah.
it's the craziest thing I ever saw, but it's you're pretty much in South America there. It's an honor and a privilege to be down there and to see how that works, how the canal and everything and all the people. Yeah. And what I thought was funny is we had one of our chiefs was like overweight at Rickenbacker. I don't know who it was, but the Panamanians are so honest. And somebody said, "Hey, who told you to do this?" Big fat chief over there. It's like, oh my God. I was laughing. We're honest,
Well,
but
Scott.
with this comes yes. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said, Scott, there was a gentleman up in electric shop with Kevin. His name was Mertz. And he had long eyebrows. We'll just let it go at that. Went to Panama one time and the locals were looking for him. And they said, "Is John here?" He said, "John who?" "John, he crazy man." I said, "John who?" "John, his eyebrows go like this." And I said, "Oh, you mean Mertz?" "Yeah, no, he's not here on this trip."
Oh man.
But the eyebrows go like this.
Yeah, John was a unique guy. He was like the survivor guy. He found a dead body in one of the fields he was looking at. He liked to scrap things, and he shot a goose outside of the base, and it augured inside the gate. Next thing you know, it's in the sink in the electric shop. So he was like one of those mountain men, and he's a great guy. I miss him.
Yeah, didn't he have Agent Orange, didn't he? Ain't issues, if I remember right?
I don't know. He might have.
Yeah.
But he got a lot of great stories, a lot of good people, the Vietnam guys and the Korean guys that we were privileged to work with, where they had one of the aircraft. My dad was there at the same time, the Korean War. Russ Higer was talking about, they had this aircraft on jacks. It's the only guns they had. They were ready to fire the guns at the gate. Whoever comes in, the Gatling gun. So it's just fascinating stuff. My dad told me the same story years and years ago. So it's confirmed. That's pretty awesome. Ingenuity. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing, but that's your job. And the Army has it even worse. My heart goes out to the Army guys.
Yeah.
A lot of my Army friends are just now, Marines on the ground are getting, they're having issues with what they saw years and years later, what they went through. And fortunately, we sent our pilots out to fight for us. And then that brings me to tragedies. We've seen the tragedies, peacetime and wartime. We've lost pilots and planes.
Yeah. And
those planes, and people don't really understand or realize those planes, those tail numbers mean something. They're their own personality. They're all different. They have their own issues. But when you lose one, you feel like you lose a part of yourself. And you lose the pilot, or the pilot gets out, fortunately. And it's just something you deal with. So if you guys want to talk anything about that, memories, I remember Rickenbacker. What did we lose, like 5 or 6 A7s? Maybe it was less than
Well, um, there were like 3 aircraft that we lost that you know it stands in my mind.
that. Okay.
One was oh shoot, I want to say it was tail number 367. Happened at
Okay.
night flying on the range in Indianapolis. It was just about Christmas time, and Andy Gross flew into controlled flight into terrain. I guess
Cool.
they were on the range, and flying low and all that sort of thing. And he, what they said was that he became disoriented and got too low. But that sort of thing affects the whole unit in a negative way, and especially the mechanics, I think.
Yes.
And then I did not go on the crash recovery for that. That was on a military reservation over there.
Right.
So I don't know who all was responsible for going over there and collecting everything, but then it was oh shoot,
Lieutenant Minor.
I can't remember the tail number of the aircraft that Brian was flying.
Yeah.
But that affected me more than anything that has ever happened to me in my life, and that was because the airplane went down, and we were all as soon as the airplane went down, everybody was called to secure their CTKs and lock everything up and all that stuff, and in a few days we all went down. I mean, a lot of us went down to comb through the woods looking for parts, and things that could be helpful in an investigation and everything. And I went down there expecting to find a crashed airplane, and there was no airplane. There was nothing left. That aircraft hit the ground at such an attitude and such a speed that there was the largest piece of that airplane that was left was the engine, and that was about the size of a trash can. Because the whole casing was gone, everything was gone. It was just it was horrifying, and the smell is something you will never ever forget. The smell of human flesh and JP4 and just in the air, and we found nothing of that poor guy, and he was 28 years old, and he lived in Reynoldsburg. So it almost felt like he was a neighbor of mine in a way. And, but I had nightmares about that for a long time. I'd wake up and I'd be, because I worked on phase dock too.
Right.
On the A7s at that time. And there just wasn't anything there. Where's the airplane? Where's the airplane? There wasn't anything there. They found the speed brake actuator 30 feet down in the ground.
Wow. I heard it hit at 40 Gs. I remember seeing that aircraft, pieces of it. I only saw the engine and the battery. The battery was like still a little, it was like messed up, but you could tell it was a battery. Everything else was just like little pieces.
Yeah, it was completely destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a sad day. And what happens when you got a crash investigation? They see who worked on it last, and they see what you did,
Right.
and the records come out, and that's a scary thing. So you're like, oh, I didn't work on that one.
Right. Well, and it came to light, at the end of the investigation that he had blacked out from G-induced loss of consciousness, and just basically flew into the ground at full military power.
Yeah.
I found a TOT gauge, and I said, "Oh, look at this!" And of course, the glass was gone and the pointer was gone, but the numbers were still there, and it said 597.
Wow. So who was it? Somebody was training him. Was it Foyt? That was.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I thought it was Foyt, but anyway, yeah, that's pretty tragic. Bob, I know that you have, we had some in Toledo, had a few.
Mhm.
One went into the lake. I can't remember the other ones. We had an F-16. Yeah.
One of the A7s, it was a pilot. It was he started out in age. What was his name? Remember, he ejected over Lake Huron somewhere,
Yeah.
and he got dragged into the water, and his parachute filled up like a big anchor and took him down, and they never did find him. It wasn't long after that when they, on the ejection seats, remember they had the release in salt water. It would release the straps, but it wouldn't
Mhm.
release in fresh water. So they
Whoa.
modified it for that too, because
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
It's horrible.
Wow.
Yeah, then we had an A7 to go down not far from Eagle Road, actually. Were you there at that time, Kevin?
I don't know.
Anyways, he went down, and what Scott was saying, that one I got to go on the parts and investigation part of it. We got to mark down where we found each part because there still were parts there. The pilot got out, but and that was interesting after the fact that you got over the crash, because what they did, they plotted it and they could actually see how the airplane turned, the attitude it went in, everything. That was actually, once you got over the crash, it was pretty interesting how that all worked.
Yeah.
Was that FDR data? Do you know? Was that on the FDR data?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, they plotted it. They had a program, but I don't
Okay.
know what it was called. Yeah.
Great.
Well,
Yeah.
One of the things that they use is that they're able to look at each hydraulic actuator they find, and
Gotcha.
the position is held of where that was at the time of impact, and they're able to know at what attitude the aircraft was in when it impacted, and that gives them a pretty good clue there.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I also remember we had an F-16 that, this is interesting. It was in paint. We were transferring it from Shaw to Toledo, and it went to the paint barn, but they did not lube the gear after it came out. And then that's like 091, I think it was 091. And the gear didn't go all the way down. It showed it was down, but it wasn't down. And it slid at the end of the runway. And that thing was on jacks for a whole year. And McMillan and Mertz worked that.
Yeah,
And I know the guy, I work with the guy now in my program that was one of the guys that repaired that aircraft.
Is that right?
Yes. The guy named Kennedy, those guys do amazing work. The guys from Depot, from CLS, do an awesome job. And that was a big, huge job.
And I think 046 slid in New Year, Christmas Eve. Remember, nose gear failed, and it slid in right in front of the airport fire station. They couldn't get the trucks out because the airplane was in the way.
Well, that's not a good thing.
No, but it didn't catch fire, luckily. But yeah,
like all the movies. Very interesting. It's sad because we had also pilots that were in school flying the T-38 and they pass out. That weeds out all the people with those possibilities, and I'm sure the tanker world is the same way. Making it through school you're becoming a pilot, and now you're overcoming. It's a really hard thing to. It's one thing to fly a T-38, then you get an F-16. If you can't handle the T-38, you can't handle the 16, and they make mistakes. It's young kids, and you hear about these accidents every once in a while. So, and then you have people, pilots that, like you see some of them will commit suicide, like the A-10 did in Colorado, and some things make you wonder. It's a stressful life. All those pilots and boomers, they have gray hair, white hair. It doesn't take very long.
Yeah.
a very stressful job. And then you go to war, and you're fighting the war with technology. So what do you guys think of the new aircraft? The newer ones, like
35.
35, 22. Yeah.
I've seen them. I've seen them in the air at air show at Nellis, but I've never been up next to one. So
Never either.
I have no idea, to be honest with you, other than the cost is astronomical.
Yes. Yeah, we had my last Vegas deployment with Toledo. We were right next door to the F-22, so they're in the same
yeah.
security level. So we got over. So the rear nozzles were classified at the time. They're not anymore.
Yeah.
But you could start that thing from outside the aircraft with the computer, and it was fascinating. Great
Oh, yeah.
aircraft. They had a lot of problems back then, but they've ironed them all out. The 35, I'm not really a big fan of it. It's a little too wide, and they're selling it to everybody in the world. So the rumor is Lockheed built that to make money. So because everybody has it.
Marine Corps Air Station in South Carolina just lost one here a couple, 3
Yes.
months ago. Remember,
Right.
the pilot bailed out of it and they couldn't find the aircraft for a while because it kept flying. Yep.
I don't know if I believe that.
I don't either, but I remember I see a lot of posts. I saw a guy had a picture of a F-35 nailed to a telephone pole. Said, anyone see, please call this number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they ought to put them on milk cartons.
Yeah, that's the
I don't believe that story. I think, I mean, you're not flying in stealth mode. You're not allowed to fly in the stealth mode, in certain parameters. And if you had a problem, if something happened, that's a whole other story. I'm kind of confused because NORAD sees everything. They saw the balloon leave China. That's how good NORAD is with the alert mission. Did you have an alert mission, Scott? The 135s?
Never did. No.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that kind of took over Toledo. It's like 4 planes from all those fighter units. They're constant 24 hours, 24/7 alerts, which is pretty interesting.
We had it in
Yeah.
SAC.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 52s loaded with nuclear and the tankers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It was,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it gets your attention.
So 8 engines on a B-52. That's crazy.
Now they're getting the new ones, the Rolls Royce.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I guess they're getting new cockpit, all new integrated cockpit that can talk to the other airplanes now, like the F-35 can talk to the 22 and all that, so.
Link 16. Yeah. Or something better than that probably now. Where you can see the targets and the technology on these things, even on the 16s that we had, they upgraded them a lot since I'd been there and came back. The things they can do, targeting pods and all that stuff, you can see it's all on YouTube. Nothing's classified. You can see like you're there in pitch black. You can see whatever your target is long before you get there. It looks like you're right there. The technology is incredible. So, and that's the thing they do with, and same thing with the 135. You constantly upgrade, and you like the glass cockpit. I remember that was a big deal. 16 constantly upgrade. The military does that, and I'm saying this to prove this point. I worked on Dutch aircraft at Springfield. They had been upgraded once, but they didn't have the same time. They couldn't fight us. There's no way. They don't have the technology. So the planes are taken to Ukraine. I question whether they'd be effective for anything. It's the same planes I worked on. Very poorly maintained, and we couldn't get them past 50%.
That's probably why they get into Ukraine.
Yeah, we struggled because they had like TCTOs that were half done, and we find egress problems that we have to ground the fleet every once in a while, and maintenance wasn't done. So you open a panel, and I know you guys know all this. You open a panel on one plane, there's one clamp. Another plane, there's 2 clamps. And another plane, there might be 3. So they do whatever they want. and they had neat stuff on it, but I would never get in one for a ride. So they had a lot of problems, and they realized that we had the most start problems I ever seen in my life. We were on the flight. We had to be on the flight line with a little handheld machine. Every single start, we had an electric shock. Had to be out there, 2 people, because it was gone. We had so many issues with that because they're so poorly maintained, and it was terrible. Anyway, and we were flying like 36 flights a day, F-16s with Americans. It was crazy, high tempo. 2 shifts. Night shift would do the last go, and the logistics were pretty tough. And the tempo was so high, QA was backing us up for missing things. So it was hard to do. We hired like 108 people for that mission. And
How many?
108. But I was on every other job board because I'm a minority. Okay. I have to have a minority on the board. But anyway, then politics came into play where we lost our congressman down there, and they had to, they were targeted. So it was between Springfield and Toledo who they're going to cut. And thankfully, Rickenbacker absorbed the 121st into the 135 realm, which made sense. But I think you guys have been better with fighters. The fighter mentality. It's hard to go from fighters to tankers, and I understand the tankers are great aircraft, 135s, but the fighter thing that's my thing. I love that. I love that stuff.
Yeah, that change of mission was a hard pill to swallow for a lot of us.
And then going from fighters in Springfield to Intel, I didn't want anything to do with Intel. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I accepted a job. The state they take care of us. We'll take, Toledo wants you to come up. I was like, okay. And I had worked there before and everything. And I wanted to be with, the fighters again, but the state will take care of who they can, the good people that they have. And I really appreciate that, because otherwise I was going to the point where if I didn't get hired, they're going to kick me out. So I didn't have enough years in. So that was the problem. But you know how that goes. But yeah, it was a very scary time because they hired all the young people. If you were over a certain age, they didn't want you to get in the intel. That was the problem. And then I went to this meeting after a lot of people got hired, and it was all the old people and the old shop chiefs. And I didn't think I was that old at the time, but it was like, where are our jobs? We're going to get it. And they kept saying, you might not be a master sergeant when the jobs get hired. It's like, that's a threat. That's a threat. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Intel's a different world. I would never want to live in. Those guys, there's no holidays, there's no days off. It's 24/7. You got all these shifts, and these people are flying these drones. And it's a neat mission. It's something I would never want to do. They see death. People in that cab, they see death all the time, killing people and everything. That's not me. And then all the super top secret stuff, and a lot of people quit. They couldn't take it because they were mechanics. You don't do that in mechanics. It doesn't work out. So anyway, it's just different life. But other than that, anything else you guys want to talk about? Anything? Oops, I don't know what that is.
No, I just got a message.
Okay.
You're talking about wrecks or crashes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I told you this last time we talked, or one of the other times. We lost a 52 on takeoff, fully loaded, 108 500-pounders.
Wow.
Yeah. What happened was, it was during monsoon season. He tried to abort. He slid off the end of the runway, went into the dirt, and what happened was everyone got out. All the pilots, everyone up front went one way to a revetment. I think I'm frozen.
Wow.
And anyways, but the tail gunner back on the old 52s sat in the back by himself. So he went another way, and they didn't know if he was still in the aircraft. The rescue helicopter came over to see if they could find him. Well, plane ignited and the concussion blew the helicopter right out of the sky and killed all 3 people on board there.
Wow.
But
Oh,
the everyone in 52 got out, but there was a poor rescue cop that didn't make it.
that's crazy.
But it blew.
Wow.
I mean, it blew glass out of everywhere when that thing lit off. Full fuel, full bomb load. It was unlike anything. It's hard to imagine.
So why did it fail to take off?
No, well, just tried to abort in monsoon season and started hydroplaning.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it slid right off the end of the runway. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I can't be a pilot. I know I'd crash. You got to know your limits. So I'm gonna pull you off for a second and then add you back on. See if that works.
Yeah, I froze up.
So you're on now, but I can only hear you. Let's see here. Yeah, that's really weird. But I can let you guys go now, and I appreciate you coming on. And if you what do you have to? You have anything to say before we go? And I'd like to have you guys back on again. Bob's been on this program a few times, so it's your turn, Scott. This is your second time.
First, I just want to thank you both for your service. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for yours.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, it was like Scott said earlier. It's something that got into you. It was a part of you. I've been retired over 20 years, and I still think about it and dream about it.
That's right.
Yes. It brings back memories. It's there. You're never going to get rid of it.
Right. You are so right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right. Well, no, we can't get Bob back, but thanks, Bob, for being on. And you too, Scott.
Nice meeting you, Bob.
Nice meeting you, sir.
Yeah.
You guys are excellent people. I'm just saying that. You both are the best people ever. So.
Oh, you're just saying that.
How are you?
No, no, Bob paid me. Hey, tell Karen I said hello.
Will do, sir.
And Scott, tell your lovely wife I said hi.
I will.
Same to Carolyn.
Okay, I sure will do that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say, you're going to be a grandfather or our grandfather?
Yes, I will be in March. Both my daughters are pregnant.
Yeah,
and due in March.
That's what you told me. Yeah, congratulations.
Isn't that crazy? What are the odds? You're
old and to get same time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're getting everything together for that, and have one of the reveals already. We have another one coming up this weekend or next week sometime. I don't keep track of the schedule. But I will not go to the baby shower because that's not a guy thing.
Yeah.
So
Definitely not.
You agree with me?
I do.
I do too.
Oh my gosh.
What, did Carolyn tell you to go?
No. I said I don't go.
Oh, you don't
go
go
to baby showers.
No, it's a lady thing.
Yeah, but the guys are going now.
Are they really?
Guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I'm not going to be there. No. Remember back in the old school?
I'll be there in spirit.
Yeah.
Back in the old school, your wife had a baby. You didn't go to the hospital. You went to the bar, and they used to show that on TV and everything.
Call me when it's over.
Yes.
Tell me what it is.
Right, but people, this is a world of, I don't know. It's a different world now.
It is.
And I was on this other program, and I explained that where people didn't care if you lived or not back in the 60s and 70s. Things were so dangerous, but that's the way life was. Like my dad worked at the control tower, and went up there. There was just one ladder, went straight up all the way up, and it was very scary. You wonder how you're going to get down. They didn't care. It's utility. It's completely different. Just like the B-52, the KC-135. There are things on there you don't mess with. You got to respect the machines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got engines running and stuff like that. But back then, safety wasn't a thing. Like there were no guardrails on I-75 going south. They're running to the mountains. Zero. But you look over. I remember because we did that route so many times. You look over the edge and there's cars at the bottom. that it went over way back. And this was like back in the 70s. There were cars that were like 50s vintage. We saw there's like outcropping. There's no like rest area or anything. It was just a place to stop.
Where was this at?
That's the life that we lived.
Where in 75?
75 past Tennessee, somewhere around there. There's nothing. It was just straight out.
Those cars are probably still down there.
Yeah, they are. I'm sure. My dad, we stopped at one, and the truck started rolling back, and we were in it, the kids. My dad had got to the truck in time to put on the brakes, and that's yeah. So, like I said, things are so like cut out for you. They're peeling the eggs for you. They cut everything for you, and the onions. You can buy that at the store like that. People aren't doing things on their own anymore. It's kind of getting lazy, you know. Instead of looking out for yourself, you expect the government to look out for you or people, or it's just everything's already done. Yeah, but anyway, that's another show.
Yeah, it's another show.
Well, yeah, and it should be.
Yeah, right. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. We salute all our veterans for Veterans Day coming up, and I think I might do another live for that later. Then I'm going to put this on the simulcast, the radio show. That's the American Legion show. And thank you guys for coming on and for showing. This is a great talk, great conversation. I appreciate it. So thanks for your time and thanks for your effort, and have a nice day. And Bob, you're still frozen. I don't know how you can keep that pose that long.
That's all right. Can you see me now? You can't see what I'm doing, can you?
I can see you in the little window on the bottom.
Yeah, I know that I'm frozen. Yeah.
Yes. All right, Scott, Bob, thank you so much. You guys are our heroes. You guys did great work, and I appreciate it. And thank you for your service.
Thank you too. And same back to you, Kevin.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.
Too.
All right. Remove. All right. And there we go. That's the end of the show. It's fascinating talk, especially about crashes and things and sad things that happen and what you learn and places we go and the funny stories. Oh, those are stories of veterans and people who joined the military just because they wanted to. They wanted to do the right thing, and not saying it is the right thing, but it's something. Serving your country, it was an honor and a privilege, and I'll never experience things like that again. But anyway, that's the end of this show. Coming to you live from Ohio, where they passed the wrong laws. It's just my opinion. And see you again next week. And thank you for joining. Thank you. Bye. God bless America.